this is Sanoop here. Yesterday, there was a buzzing news on Vedanta Limited about its delisting. So many people have been asking me, okay, what is this delisting? Why is the company doing so? What will happen to the investors if they delist? And what is this floor price of 87.5? So I'm doing this video to give a very easy and simple explanation on what is delisting, especially in related to Vedanta stock, and what we investors have to do on news like this. I'm hearing the word delisting for the first time in 2009 when I got few of my shares, my father's share transferred to my demat account. So I noticed a stock, the value was showing as zero. So I asked the person there, I asked them, why is the value showing as zero? Then he told me that the stock got delisted in 2007. You did not participate for the delisting process, so that's the stock is still with you. So that's why the stock is showing as zero. And this delisting happened in 2007. I got the shares transferred on 2009, and still I have the shares with me. The company's name is SR Steel. So it was a famous company recently and also during that time. So I was having a hope of relisting it. But it did not happen, and the company does not exist anymore. So this delisting, the word delisting, it just means that the process of removing the stock from the exchange. Okay, for listing the stock, what the company does, they give a IPO. The shares are subscribed by the investors, and after that, they list into exchange. So the reverse process, or removing the name of the company from the exchange, is called delisting in simple terms. Delisting is divided into two basic classification. One is Kingfisher style delisting, and the second is Vedanta style delisting. Okay? Kingfisher style delisting is involuntary. Okay, it is done by SEBI if the company does some malicious practices, or they are in debt and they do not publish their results, or if any rules is broken by the company, the SEBI does a forceful delisting. So that thing was happened for Kingfisher. The same shares like Sri Ashtavinayak Cinevision, the producers of Jab We Met movie, it got delisted like that. So that is voluntary delisting, and this is bad for investors. The problem with this delisting is that company doesn't do anything. Company just sits idle, and the investors has to bear the pain. They have to sell the share at whatever price they get. Okay, so that is voluntary delisting. The next one is Vedanta style delisting. It is that one was involuntary delisting, forced delisting. This is voluntary delisting. Vedanta Limited. What happens is that the promoters of the company itself say that okay, we are having a plan to delist the company from the exchange, and they have fixed a price called floor price. Okay, so why is this done? This is done so that the promoters of the company gets the full authority of the company. There is very negligible public shareholders, or there are no public shareholders, so they can sell the company to another third party for a high price. They can restructure the various things, and also they can take decisions on their own. So there are some advantages for delisting like that. In case of Vedanta, around 50% of the stock is with the promoters itself. Okay, rest 50% is with the public. So they set a price 87.5. That is the delisting price, and they'll keep a record date. On that day, the investors can give their stock back to the company. Okay, on their agreed price. It's not compulsory to give the price, but it is always better to give the price, because one of the advantage of stock market is that we always say that we have liquidity. It means that if you want to sell the stock, or if you are in need of money, you can just sell the stock and get the money back. But after delisting, the money is stuck. So it's very difficult to find new buyers for a stock which does not have any value. So it's always better to give the shares back to the company. But in case of voluntary delisting, what I said in case of Vedanta, it is actually an advantage to the shareholders, because this news is a good news. Okay, and what usually happens is that the company share price hikes up. Okay, you can see yesterday's closing, the company share price rose around 10 rupees. So almost the news is almost known to the market. That's why the stock reacted like that. Again, it may list. I mean, when it gets traded, it goes above 100 rupees. So it is always better to sell the stock at a higher market price, or it's always better to give the shares back to the shareholders. So many people have been asking me, saying that there are people who bought the shares at very high price, about 200 rupees and all. For them, it is a loss, no doubt in that. But for people who have just invested, for them, it's a good deal right now. So it's always better to give the shares back to the company. So if the company declares to delist, it doesn't mean that the delist process happens. Okay. So when the news comes for voluntary delisting, the stock price usually goes up, and there are situations where the delisting doesn't happen, because delisting is not an easy process for the company, because they have to buy back the shares from the shareholders. For that they need money, and they have to convince the shareholders for a better price. And if this thing doesn't turn up, or if this thing doesn't happen, the stock price is definitely going to crash. So it has happened in the history also. So there are certain conditions on how to fix the floor price. Usually SEBI doesn't keep a upper band for giving the floor price, but there is a minimum that has to be kept by the company. Usually it is the average of the highs and lows of the weekly closing for the last 26 weeks, or the closing for the last 2 weeks, whichever is higher. And the company has to get at least 90% of the shares back with them in order to delist. If it is less than 90%, they are not able to delist. So if the delisting process doesn't happen, it is very bad for the company. So as I said, it's always better to sell the shares at a higher price when the Vedanta Limited gets traded on Wednesday or Thursday, or give it back to the company at the agreed floor price. So I think all the doubts are cleared. So I think this is very clear. If you have any doubts, always feel free to ask. Thanks a lot for watching. Do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.